What's up, everybody? That time of the day, that time of the week, that time of the month.
Yeah, it is.
You're listening to The Good,
The Band.
The Ugly. I'm Big Papa.
And I'm Jeff.
He's just Jeff.
Coming to you live from the Ultimate Ears studio.
You can hear your own tears.
With Ultimate Ears.
We're gonna
They
keep...
haven't written you a letter about that yet?
Not yet. Haven't heard it.
Okay, good.
I think it's...
Maybe they like it.
Yeah.
You never know.
You can drown in your own beers with Ultimate Ears. Nope.
Right.
I like you can hear your own tears with Ultimate Ears. Yes.
Yep.
That's how good they are.
I know.
Well,
here we go.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Because you didn't
Let's
go to
not.
California. 'Cause you're a wuss.
That's enough.
I'm just saying. So, what a great show today. We have a Syracuse icon legend in his house.
His house.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure he is in his house.
Yes, he is in his house, and we are in ours.
Yeah.
This gentleman has been playing music for quite a while. He's very well known for his work with the New York Flyers.
Yep.
From the Syracuse great New York Flyers.
Yes.
Which we're going to mention it a couple times, which they will be in Syracuse at a reunion show Saturday, August 17th at Sharky's.
Tickets are still available.
Oh, gosh, yes. You got to get those tickets.
Mm-hmm.
It's something you can't miss. There's a
No.
lot of reunions going on this summer.
And this is one you should not miss.
This is definitely one
honestly.
you should not miss.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Been a witness to it, and it's just amazing.
It's a show like no other.
You're right.
Where's my cowbell?
So
without further ado, let's bring on Chris So from the local legendary band, the New York Flyers. Oh, look, and he's got a New York Flyers shirt on.
I know.
How you doing?
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Good.
That is probably the cleanest looking studio I've ever seen. We've had a lot of people on, and their studios are just...
Turn the camera around.
You shut up.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Right.
Yeah, no, we don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
Jeff and I sit here every week, and we, as we're setting up for the show, and I'm like...
We look around and we're like,
one of these
man.
days, we've got to give a complete douching to this place, because there's a bunch of crap under this desk. If you guys only knew, Jeff's not even wearing pants.
It's like the old news anchors, you know?
That's right.
Yeah, it's just like the old news anchors.
Yeah. So, Chris, welcome. Thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this. We're on the air now.
You guys see that?
Stupid. But thank you so much. I mean, your legacy with all the stuff that you've done with Syracuse, but I know you started earlier. You know, you're not from Syracuse originally, right? You're from New York City, aren't you?
Yeah, so I grew up in Manhattan and spent the first 16 years in Manhattan. But what was interesting was my mom was an art teacher and my father taught dance. So it was kind of a very artsy, kind of liberal arts upbringing. Mm-hmm. So my mom would actually, I must have been 14, and my mom would drive me to the Fillmore East, drop me off downtown. I'd buy one ticket and I'd get some random seat that was like second row center.
Right.
Like it was every time, or one seat, because it was always like one oddball seat.
Right. Yeah.
And then she'd pick me up when the show was over.
Wow.
So it was those shows with my jaw on the floor.
Right.
Watching Humble Pie and Cactus and Mountain and Black Sabbath, and just watching these guitar players, these heroes. And just, you can imagine, you know, when you're 12, 14, it's such an influential age.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And it's like, I got to do that.
It's so cool that you put it that way, because we have had this conversation with every artist that has that, and it's the same phrase. I've got to do that. Yep. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And it doesn't matter how old they are.
No, I mean, a lot of people say the usual, you know, I saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Well, you said that last week.
I know,
use
but
that one again.
And then, well, now, I mean, we interviewed Joel Hoekstra, and he said that he saw Angus Young on MTV, and that's what reeled him in.
Yeah.
So it was like, everybody has a different story.
But a lot of people have had some of the same. Black Sabbath's always been
at the forefront,
something that's just mesmerized. Because I think the music that came out at that point was so different than anything anybody had heard. People were really creating their own stream. It started with like Cream. I think personally, Cream they were just
cream of the crop.
They were blazing their own path. With guys like Ginger Baker, and alone as a drummer, I'm like, wow, that blew me away. And then you move over to John Bonham with Zeppelin and guys like that, and you're just going, oh my God, I hadn't heard anything like that from before. But everybody has that moment. It's really cool that you led right off with it.
That's awesome.
It's different experiencing it when you're there, and seeing it and watching the sweat, and I'll caption this as I'm a lucky guy.
Okay.
Super lucky.
For sure.
Because like a couple years after that, the Fillmore closed, and I'd see concerts in Central Park, which were great, and then had bands through high school, and then I went to Oswego State. Had bands there rehearsing in the dorm rooms like we weren't supposed to, and then formed a band, a 3-piece band in Oswego, Ace.
Oh, cool,
nice.
And we played the clubs in Oswego, Red Creek, Sodus, up in that area. Fulton.
Wow.
But there's a town, Lyons, between Syracuse and Rochester.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And it's a club called Tom Jones, and fantastic club owner, Leonard, and he had a raised dance floor, and it was like Saturday Night Fever, the plexiglass with the lights.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the stage was so wide, he could have 2 bands fully set up side by side, each with their own PA.
Wow.
Oh. So we would do that so the audience could see 2 bands every night. And if you didn't like one band, you just wait a set and then you see the other band. And there was a band playing with us, Chalk.
Okay.
And that was Phil D'Alessandro, and Dennis Familio was the drummer. And Chalk was kind of going to dissolve, and Phil knew that. And then Phil saw me, and that night, being a kid from New York, I had a pink glitter lame suit and pants and platforms.
Nice.
And Phil saw that and says, this kid is not your average bear. And so Phil and I then got together and we started talking about putting the flyers together. But it was that pivotal gig that happened, just random 2 bands playing.
Wow.
Now, Chris, with Ace, what kind of music were you guys doing? Was it original?
No, it was all bar stuff, ZZ Top, Lynyrd Skynyrd at the time.
Mm-hmm.
This is
roughly what year is that?
This was going to be probably 74, 75.
Okay.
So basically the same time as bands like what was Rick Coa's band?
I don't know.
Didn't Rick?
We had Dove.
Yeah, I think, or Crack. Was it Crack?
It was Crack.
Wasn't Crack playing around the same time?
Crack was, but it was DOVE, and then it went to DUV.
Okay.
And what year
so there was the Dove,
right?
Like the bird, and then it was an incredible 3-piece version, I believe, with Mark Doyle, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm. It's the legacy people that have come out of here that are not here anymore. We had Rick on the show a couple weeks ago, and just first of all, what a gracious guest and great guy. And when we go back to the time that Syracuse was just banging with music and so many options, so many different venues to play, and now if you came here now, Chris, and you were to walk around, you're saying, well, where's there to play? And people say there's like 3
main
main venues, and that's it. Years ago, my God,
You just stumble across the street and find something.
You'd have 15, 20 different venues around here to play, and now it's sad that it's become what it has.
Yeah.
But you also remember the days of 40 different cover bands, and then at one point 35 of them were trying to do all their own original music, and then it's just there was so much going on here, and back in the days of Albino's and all those great places to rehearse, you just don't have that anymore.
No.
So you slid into starting the New York Flyers, and now all of a sudden that just takes off. So give us a little of the Flyers history.
Well, I mean, the Flyers, we were, all from different people with different experiences. We had a lot of different incarnations. Because, people come and go for different reasons. But
right.
Rick Marcellus, who was in Zane, and they were really powerful, the great band, Tommy DeAmber lead singing, Larry Meinhold on guitar, Richard Heffron, which was Dick Hummer, Cookie Hummer, Hummer and the Machine on drums.
Yeah.
So, but we had a lot of different drummers and bass players before we actually came across Earl Hamilton and Mike Marzullo.
Right.
Earl happened to live across the hall from me on an apartment I lived at on Burnett Ave.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew him as a neighbor, and he was in another band, Truckin'. And then Mike literally swept me off my feet. I went to the Boardwalk in North Syracuse, and on 11, and he was in a band called Cracker Jack, and he sang the Janis Joplin song Mercedes-Benz, completely a cappella.
No kidding.
Completely a cappella. Just sang it. I got chills. I said, I got to play with that guy.
Right.
And I pursued him. And luckily, he agreed.
He accepted, right?
Luckily. But boy, man, his voice was just astounding.
Right.
And so I said, he's the guy.
That's so cool. I think once you find the niche, or you, all of a sudden it's like everything, all the cogs start fitting, and you get that one member that's what we've been waiting for. I know we came across that every now and then, like when one bass player all of a sudden was like, oh, thank God, or we had a drummer that, just had a meter that was just spot on, and you're like, oh, finally, the bass player and the drummer are so in sync. Everything behind us, we don't have to worry about from now on, compared to a bass player that's playing the second set while we're playing the first set, and we're wondering why the bass sounds so weird all night. And 3 songs into it, he realizes he's on the wrong set. so
that's never happened, right?
Yeah, no, that happened. Yeah, that was a rough night.
It was. It was a rough start.
It's like, what the hell song are you on? I'll never forget. What song are you on?
What song are you on?
I'm on Cat Dragged In. I'm like,
nope.
That's the second set, you idiot.
Second set.
What the hell are you doing?
I know.
Yeah. So we
never did that.
Yeah, no, not many people do. Let's put it that way.
No.
But it's been done. So now you've got Earl the Pearls drumming, and he was a legend in his own right. I mean, everybody, he had the theatrical, the sticks flaming.
Was he doing that when you met him?
No, we grew into that.
Okay.
Because this was back in the 80s when pyro was okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
For some bizarre reason, pyro was okay. It
Yeah.
probably shouldn't have been,
right?
But it was. And so we concocted bigger and bigger theatrics,
Yes.
a lot of the Central New York bands.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to get it down to a science about how much gauze, how many wraps,
Right.
how much lighter fluid,
Oh yeah.
how long they would burn, how to extinguish them.
Yeah.
Have extinguishers right there.
Yep.
But it's funny because let's face it, you're not the adult that you are today. So half the pyro stuff was like, I think I could bake that. I heard if you take a can and empty a bunch of firecrackers, the gunpowder into it, you put a lamp cord in it.
Right.
And then when I go, okay, you flip the switch on the box that your dad made in the garage, and that's some dangerous shit right there. And you're in the Lost Horizon, and you've got that low roof, this little stage, and people are blowing off, like you said, pyrotechnics with a bar full of people 2 feet away from the stage. Man, how did no one get hurt?
When we played larger clubs, Phil and I actually, we took, I want to say it might have been 3 or 4 sections of rain gutter.
Okay.
Screwed them into 2x4s, joined it, and had gunpowder and flash powder in it. With hot electrical on both sides. And when that baby, we called it the wall of fire. Okay. And it would go up, and it would just be a sheer wall of fire that would shoot up. And Mike and I would be pinned to our amps. We'd be our backs would be all the way to the amps, so we wouldn't singe our hair.
Right.
Our hair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there was a lot of Aquanet back then.
Yeah, well, no, Aquanet was 10 years later. Yeah.
No, I don't know.
His suit might have gone up.
I don't know. He's shaking his head like, yep.
Yeah. Spandex, polyester, that stuff just melts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, right.
Yep. That's crazy. So
the Flyers have their run. How long would you say? Geez, the Flyers probably, 10 years?
It was 75 to 86.
Okay. So now we're to 1986.
Yep.
Now what happens? Where do you go from there?
Back in 78, we started out as Flyer.
Oh, okay.
And in 78, we got a cease and desist from a band's management out of Buffalo, this band Flyer, and they were kind of a soft top 40 kind of a thing.
Okay.
And they said, no, you have to change it. And so we said, oh boy, we don't want to have a completely different name. We'd lose all that equity and familiarity. So New York Flyers was enough to cross over without getting into legal trouble with them.
That's cool.
That is cool that 2 local bands are fighting over it. Where nowadays you just throw stuff at each other.
Right.
We have a band in Canada called The Good, the Band, and the Ugly that's trying to tag our stuff. It's like, go ahead. You keep doing it there. We keep getting all the views.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah. But they're no.
Yeah, don't.
No, I'm not going to say they're terrible because that'd be rude. But if I was going to say anything, I'd probably say they're terrible. So
the Flyers also like to support local talent, So we created a label between Phil and I. So Phil was Phil D'Alessandro, and I'm Chris So. So it was Delso Records.
Oh, no kidding.
And
Very
so
cool.
We had the Natives, which is Penny Joe Polis and Scott Sarmiento.
Oh, okay.
The old Scott. Yeah. The original.
The original Scott Sarmiento.
La Rock out of Binghamton, and this Mark Doyle produced them, and the Natives, and then the Headlights out of Tampa that our manager Joe Damaso hooked me up with to produce down in Tampa, and then Mark remixed it at Rose Hill in Syracuse in Marcellus.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so we also, there was bands. I don't know if you remember a band, Riff Raff. This is early Chris Goss.
Oh God, yeah.
John Fortunato, John Mangiacaro,
right?
Yep.
Jimmy Cardinelli on guitar. Okay. So if there was a young band that we liked, we'd have them open for us. Right. And so we cut our teeth at the Brookside playing there 3 nights a week during beer blasts. So it was just a fun crowd, you can imagine. Yeah. It was like, I don't know, $5 in all you could drink or something.
Nice.
and then when Riff Raff evolved into Masters of Reality, again, I love that band.
Yeah.
Oh God,
yes.
And Tim Harrington, amazing. Al Dunn, Mr. Al, and then Chris Goss again. And then with Chris and Al Dunn, the three of us did a recording project, and we were called Slick Eyed Molly and the Dolly Humpers. And
okay.
And so we did some recording on that, and to that point, this show, August 17th, coming up, we have an emerging band, Red Tangent, playing opening for us.
Okay.
So they're rocking hard.
Yep.
And we just want to give some young bands, a chance to get on a big stage.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Red Tangent.
Yep.
Our old drummer.
Yes.
Yeah. That's our old drummer. Cool. Yeah, we'll be able to
check it
make
out.
sure we check that out with them and get there early. So, you mentioned Chris Goss. Anybody try to ever get him to come back out and do some stuff out here? I mean, do you know how to get a hold of him? We've been trying.
I messaged him and he didn't respond. So I don't know if he wasn't interested or forgot me, or I don't know. But I think they're great. And then Masters of Reality is also just, I think, releasing new material.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Is Chris, obviously Chris is still singing with the band. I mean, he's got to be.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, I mean, he is the voice of the Masters of Reality. I mean, timeless, distinct. You hear it, you know who it is. And if you're from Syracuse and you're anywhere near that age, I mean,
you're gonna know.
I loved going to see them, and just the shows that they put on, and again, those are shows like what you guys did. Chris came out with the cowboy hat and the suit on, and just completely different than the rest of the guys in the music, but the same with the Flyers. I mean, you guys just you always stole the show, and there's so much more that you've done, but I don't want to stay completely on the Flyers, but I do know that for the people listening, that was the hook.
That was
the hook, because you guys really you put a lot of smiles on a lot of faces over the years, and when you say thank you to us for having you, we thank you for doing this, because
for sure,
you've definitely contributed a lot to this area, and we appreciate that. So,
like bands are like the Beatles, those four guys, just happen to gel, and you get a rare situation, like you mentioned, you get the right people gelling.
Yeah.
So Mike has a beautiful tenor voice. I'm an alto, and Earl can do falsetto soprano. Mm-hmm. So it's a perfect blend of harmonies.
Right.
And so if there was a time where we didn't play for, we were all working and work.
Sure. Yeah.
And we did a reunion. I swear it was the first rehearsal in, 20 years. And it was like, magic. It's like, what?
Who said that a couple times? So the reunions that come up, when you have guys like Lee from Under the Gun comes up, they do a reunion, or John Seeley comes up and does a reunion for the guys from Emerald City or whoever else. They all say the same thing. You sit down, you do one rehearsal, and you're like, it's like we never left. We're even busting balls like we did back then with each other, and the same jokes are flying around the room, and I think that plays to the camaraderie that you have, and people that aren't musicians don't get. It's just like a sports team or the military or anything, that those are your guys in the trenches next to you. And when you're in a band, they're your brothers, they're your family. And man, it takes a lot to break up that family. When you get back together, it's just like, let's do this again.
Right.
The only problem is you do a reunion and you're like, shit, I want to do this again next week. This was fun. These guys, I miss doing this every week.
We did a lot of playing to get out of the central New York market so we wouldn't just keep playing the same clubs.
Right.
And so playing from Canada to Florida, we were one of the first unsigned bands, fully funded. 4 guys on the crew, 4 in the band, with a truck and a van and a driver. And we've just played a lot. And touring is what will widen any cracks you have in the band. It stresses everybody.
Sure.
You're not getting enough sleep. You're sleeping in a different place. The food isn't great. And, this is rock and roll in the 80s. So again, I'm a lucky guy. How lucky to play clubs, the music we were playing in the 80s, which was a wonderful time. I mean, now is great, but in the 80s, it was kind of hell's bells.
We were talking to an artist, and she said her best time was when she did her first tour, and she found herself sleeping on the floor, with a blanket and a sneaker for a pillow type thing.
Right.
And she felt like
she made it.
I've made it. This is great, And now she's been touring with Pink for 17 years.
Yep.
So I said, "You still sleeping on the floor?" She goes, "Nah, the accommodations with Pink are a little different."
She says, "I've upgraded a little."
Yeah, she said, "I'm not sleeping on the floor anymore, but it's still it's still a lot of touring.
Still a lot of touring,
and you still,
and
I don't think people get that. And luckily, it's said over and over again that touring is not the glamorous, and it doesn't matter what level you're at. You could be the Rolling Stones, or you could be a new band like Red Tangent. And you'd be saying, man, this beats the shit out of us, because you're doing the same thing over and over and over. You make two shows, 1 day off, 2 shows, half a day off, then it's travel, then it's, So I think people need to think about that when they're seeing the bands that do travel. Yeah. And there's a lot of local people that come through that are just same way now, living in a van, touring all over. Syracuse is the name of a group that comes to mind. And I don't know if they're husband and wife. Or
they are.
Okay. And, man, they're all over the place. They're like gypsies. But they're playing a lot. And God bless them for doing it, not killing each other.
Well, she was recently very ill, and they weren't sure if they were going to tour anymore. And she pulled through, and now they are.
Nice. So, I did not know that.
Yeah.
See, you're stalking other people. That's good to know.
I like it.
So, so we got the So from the Flyers, where do you go, Chris?
This is the mid '80s. Remember, the drinking age used to be 18.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that meant 16-year-olds were getting in with fake IDs.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there were big crowds. Then it went to 19 and then 21.
Yeah.
And so your audience starts shrinking. And so in '86, I gave everyone 6 months notice, and we finished New Year's Eve at the Lost Horizon, and kind of said, because we were trying to trim the show down, trying to make the economics work, but the crowds were smaller. There were fewer clubs at that time. So I moved back to New York City and started playing and auditioning. And it's a very humbling and exciting experience. So I was playing in a band, Cha-Cha Fernandez and the Slumlords.
Okay.
And that was Mark Sawyer, who lived in Auburn originally, and he moved to New York. And for some weird reason, I met him, and he needed a guitar player, and it was a fun band, 2 backup singers, 2 guitars, bass, drums, whole show. The dancers were, choreographed. One singer was a singer for Mick Jagger when he did his solo tours.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And then that morphed into Sacred Addiction, which is what Marco, really wanted to do more rock. But I think the big thing was to be able to play CBGBs. I mean, we get Friday and Saturday nights like every other month, because Marco was such a sweet guy and he was so engaging. He would bring the booking agent, Louise, donuts that she liked, and then So, and the China Club, Danceteria, the Limelight was one of my favorite rooms. A huge old church, and when you rock that place,
yeah,
it was amazing. Nirvana at the top of One Times Square, up toward the roof, at Continental in the East Village. So yeah, I played in a band, the Pleasure Bombs, and they were showcasing to get signed. And I liked playing with them, but I was at that time I was working at Manny's Music on 48th Street when 48th Street again was bustling and just intense music scene. And I didn't want to lose my job at Manny's because I liked that. So I said, when you guys get signed, I'll resign and you can find another guitar player. My job is to get you signed, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's what happened. They showcased, they got signed. I left the band. They did an album. They got dropped.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, that's what happened.
And you gave them all jobs.
Tall Trees, they were, Head for Tall Trees did one album. It was a major label, but I forgot which label. And then we were working on their second album and showcased. Matt Wallace was the producer. Everything was go. And then the husband and wife team, who were the singers, they started getting into some bad habits, and it got them into real trouble. So again, you know, it's a lot of rock and roll tales of woe.
Yeah.
And I've lived through some of them just to see, you go to rehearsal and you find, you know, packets of heroin laying around, you know.
Oh,
it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
what's next? You know,
could have stayed in Syracuse.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're in the music store, and now you got your taste of a little bit of the music, other side of the music business, and you go on from there to do more music in that realm. If I've read the correct verbiage on your history.
At Manny's music was a magical place, and in fact, I think Scott Sterling got his Black Les Paul there, I believe.
Oh, no kidding!
Oh, wow!
That he still plays. So
next time we see him,
I was there from 87 to 96 ish, and just it was a who's who of stars. And knowing that I wanted to go home and play guitar, I didn't want to work with guitars all day, so I worked in the pro audio department because I liked audio. So while the Flyers were playing, Phil was running some of the lighting, and I was running monitors while I was playing with the Flyers every night.
Oh, wow.
On stage.
Yeah.
One less head count.
Yeah.
Well, we had front of house, but, you know, he couldn't hear the monitors because he was front of house, and we didn't want a monitor mixer. We already had 4 guys on the crew because we had to have a stage person and then a spot person.
Yeah.
And then lighting. So, 48th Street was Music Row, magical. At one time, I think there was something like 40 stores there, all music.
That's cool.
Then Sam Ash was expanding finally. And so I was recruited to move over to Sam Ash and start up their merchandising and buying group.
Nice.
And then we built out stores in Florida, Tennessee, California, Illinois, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. I mean, we were building stores out. So that was a whole retail experience after Manny's single store, Sam Ash multi-store, and then they had a catalog, Sam Ash. So I would merchandise about 40% of their mix in the catalog with pro audio, lighting, DJ.
Which was like a big kid Sears catalog that you just circled everything you wanted.
Yeah. And then Dale Electronics was another family business in Manhattan, and Dale was completely different. They were a distributor focusing on installed sound and broadcast. So I became the general manager there, and that was a great experience with installed sound and broadcast sound from a distributor point of view, which I've never done. So keep in mind, every one of these is like a new experience for me.
Yeah. Right.
I'm the dumbest kid in the room and I have to learn quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
Then I was recruited to Musician's Friend. So I moved from New York to Medford, Oregon.
Right.
And Musician's Friend was a well-run company, a fine-tuned direct marketing machine. The folks that work there still speak very fondly of it. It was a very special time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I learned my direct marketing chops, print, and then again, it was a catalog company with a website.
Yep.
And then as e-commerce grew, it became an e-commerce company with a catalog.
Yes.
I bought a lot of gear through there myself.
Myself and a team of talented folks, we ran Stupid Deal of the Day for 8 years, really successfully.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun to bring extreme deals to musicians of all kinds.
Mm-hmm.
So then, if you don't mind me going through this,
no,
please.
That's why we do this.
And then while I was a Musician's Friend, it was a wholly owned subsidiary of Guitar Center. And through my tenure from 2001 to 2015, I went through about 8 different CEOs at Guitar Center. They just kind of kept revolving them. And then one of them in 2012 decided to shut down Musician's Friend in Medford and try and move everyone to Westlake Village. Well, I was part of the move, and I moved down there. So I moved to Westlake Village. So now I'm living in California for the first time. And that was interesting, again, with proprietary products and getting deals at that scale. Now you had a much bigger scale.
Right.
Yeah.
Then having been in the music industry and having the skills that I developed over the course of my employment, I said, well, let me get out of it and try something else. So I actually went to Amazon for about a year, and I was running their automotive division for Canada out of their Seattle.
Okay.
So I said, let me go to a new company, operating in a new country, in a new category. So I was
the dumbest kid in the room again.
A whooping. Yeah.
Right.
And so it was intense learning curve.
Right.
But a fascinating company.
Sure.
I was trying to commute because my wife and daughter were still in California, and I was in a 1-bedroom in Seattle. So that got old. So then I moved back to California. And then one thing I hadn't done is work for a manufacturer. So I went and I worked for Marshall Electronics, which is MXL microphones and Mogami cable.
Okay.
And helped them with their marketing. Then my boss from Musician's Friend called me and said, I need you at Full Compass in Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, boy.
They don't have a merchandising department, and they need help building one.
Right.
And so I like to build things, and I loved working for him. It was Craig Johnson. And
so Chris becomes the
world
traveler.
For 5 years.
Wow. So Chris, you become the world traveler. Really, I mean.
You know, while moving is challenging, it does give you a whole different palette of experiences and friends, and it just I think it enriches one's journey if it's done, to one's benefit. And like I said, I'm just, my timing was so lucky to be, because 48th Street doesn't exist anymore. I mean, literally it's a street, but there's no music stores anymore.
Right.
It's gone. The 80s, the playing in clubs. And that's why I think a lot of people come out and see us. They go, hey, I haven't seen you, and it's all this bond.
Yeah.
The bands and the audience that would support the bands in the 80s and 90s. And then playing in New York at CB's before it closed. And that was just.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Just I got chills thinking about those gigs.
Well, even the Limelight. I mean, I had the luxury, I was just at the age where I got into the Limelight before it was gone, and driving down the street now and you pass it and I'm like, God, man, you have no idea. I remember my daughter was with me in the cab one day, we're driving by, and see that building right there? She goes, yeah. I said, there used to be a line around the corner all the way down, people just waiting, hoping they could get in because some of the best music ever was coming out of that place. And the same with CBGB's. Same thing. You're like, oh, my God. So I feel blessed being able to say that I saw some bands there, but to play there, holy shit, I can't imagine.
Me either.
It's just, it's like you've been to the mountain.
Yeah, right,
right. As they say. I mean, that's some cool shit. Now, you're moving all over the country. You're trying all these different gigs. You're staying with music. You're not music. You're at Amazon. You're still strumming the guitar. Are you playing at all, or are you just sitting at home and writing and going, God, I got to get back into it?
Well, the New York period, the Manny Sam Ashdale, I was playing a lot. But what I was able to do at Musician's Friend, Musician's Friend was a direct marketing company, and they could have sold fly fishing equipment, shoes. They were such a machine.
Yeah.
And we happened to sell musical gear. Yay. But about half the staff was musicians, and half the staff didn't know anything about what we were doing.
Right.
So I started with some other people and sponsorship jams. And so we would have maybe 8 to 10 bands.
Okay.
And you'd play, I want to say, 30 minutes tops. And you'd rotate these bands. And so it'd be 8 different bands, and the whole company would come out, and we would take over a venue. It'd be free admission. The club would make the bar.
Right.
And we would tell them, you're going to have a full house.
Right.
And so we did that for many years. And then when I went to Guitar Center, I moved it to Guitar Center because they hadn't done that. And now they're still doing it now. They're Guitar Center jams.
Right.
So that allowed me to keep playing with a whole bunch of different people while I was working there.
Right.
Good.
So when did you start getting affiliated with NAMM?
I had gone to NAMM for a long time. And the board of directors process is someone on the board nominates you.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has to be ratified. And then there's, cuts and then final cuts. And luckily, again, because I was working with manufacturers all the time, Shure, Sennheiser, Audio-Technica, JBL, EV, QSC.
Sure.
I mean, it's all of the lighting companies. And so it was great because I had wonderful relationships with them, but we got a lot of great business done with the focus of serving the customer.
Right.
And so I got nominated and was on the year 2000 board of directors. Mm-hmm. And then because that was sailing right into COVID, that one class got a 4-year term instead of the traditional 3-year term. So this January 24 is when I exited the board. My term was up and a new group was ushered in.
Mm. Do you think that the jams that you did and being a musician, because we talked a little before, not everybody on that board are musicians.
No, it's mostly CEOs and owners
and for people that don't know, that haven't been to NAMM, that should have gone to NAMM, there's music going on everywhere. Mm-hmm. There's some of the greatest players of today, of yesterday, of tomorrow, jamming out on stages, and everywhere you turn, you're like, holy shit! It's like overload.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, being the fact that you came from where you did, you help guide some of these manufacturers to say, hey, this is what worked for us in the past. Put a little stage up, bring some of your endorsed artists out, and let's make this just a kick-ass show. And I know some of the companies are known for their epic, endorsed artists up on stage. You must have had something to do with that.
Well, I mean, pre-COVID, because COVID was, a gut punch to everyone in the industry, frankly. And, and then the supply chain problems and raw material problems and all of that. So I was, again, very lucky because I had good relationships with companies like I'd have a meeting at the Shure booth, and they had 2 levels. I'd go upstairs, and then out of the corner of my eye, I see this guy standing there, and I talk to my account person. I get, can I take a picture with that guy? And she was like, oh, yeah, sure. So, Rob, would you come over here? So I'm here with Rob Halford.
Oh,
And,
wow.
You know, and like, this is like a dream come true. You are a metal god.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, thank you. So humble, so grateful that I was excited. Just the coolest guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Same thing with their current guitar player, Richie Faulkner.
Yeah.
Sweetheart of a guy.
Right.
Sweetheart. Vernon Reed of
Living Color.
Living Color.
Yeah.
Sweetheart. Just nicest guy.
On tour with Accept right now.
Who is?
Living Color.
Oh, yeah.
No, Extreme. Not Accept. Extreme.
I don't know where you're going with this.
My brain. I don't know. I just heard it today. I don't know. Tell me to shut up. So, yeah. Everybody I turned around, every time I turned around, there was somebody different. I was like, look, hey, it's the guys from Steel Panther. It's like, oh, there's Marco Mendoza. He was on the show. Let's go talk to him. There's Joel Holstra. There's the School of Rock, the CEO of the School of Rock there. She's going to be on the show in a couple weeks. Just all kinds of people that, because of NAMM, gave us more content. And it's just, I can't say enough about it, you know. It's probably better that we didn't know that you were there, Chris. We would have been hitting you up, hitting you up playing the Syracuse card looking for some kind of free shit. Damn it, I could have gotten to that concert.
Manny's music was like that. At 6 o'clock, the doors shut. Everyone got out. And then open the doors, Stevie Wonder would come in, and he'd have run of the house, the whole store, you know, right. Or who's who, because they literally had a who's who of stars come in there. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. And you know, helping Carole King solve her home recording problems, and helping Lou Reed find a good pair of studio monitors, and just like, again, magical.
Yeah.
Right. That's so cool. Who's the gentleman that started the bass amp section at Sam Ash? He's still there. He kind of pioneered that metal cone. Oh, Jesus. It's going to drive me nuts. He was there.
Hartke?
What's that?
Hartke?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. When Billy Sheehan was at Sam Ash a month ago.
Yeah.
And I was down and met up with him. Hartke was there to say hi to Billy and stuff. And people were like kind of walking by, and I'm like, I know who that guy is. That guy's like a freaking bass amp legend. And you guys are like, excuse me there, fella. It's like, dude, you want to get your picture taken with him too. Because he like invented, I mean, he was like an electronic engineer that said there's got to be a better way, and he invented that metal cone bass head. Yeah.
Yep.
So just another.
And having Talus play the throughway circuit, you know, in the 80s.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And so we'd play there one night. Talus played the next night. Another, you know, Rat Race Choir from New York City would play the next night. I mean, it's just like a who's who.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I think the people now really appreciate how magical that time was. Just things were just a little more liberal, and you could pretty much play originals. They welcomed them. It was great.
Yeah.
Did you find that back then you had a good mixture of both? You didn't have to be one or the other. You could do, you know, pepper in 5 originals and 45 covers, or more, whatever.
As we started building our original song repertoire, we started kind of coming into a 50-50 scenario. Mm-hmm. But when we toured out of Central New York, we had to swing it way more covers.
Yeah.
You know, because people didn't know you. We weren't signed to a major label. Again, we were a self-funded subchapter S corporation. So it was unusual for a band to actually be a corporation with accountants and managers and, you know, booking agents up and down the East Coast, and having it, you know, disability. We had a health insurance for the band and crew.
Wow. That's pretty
so
cool.
it was a good business experience.
That's cool. So through all these years on stage, there had to have been a couple funny stories that have just stuck out that you would want to share with us, something that might have gone awry or just some humorous little tidbits over the years.
One is interesting. I want to say it might have been 2 weeks before the show. A promoter needed a band to fill a bill for a show at the Palace Theater in Albany, and the booking agent contacted us and say, "Hey, do you guys want to open for Black Sabbath?" And
No.
we're like, "What?
No.
What?"
No.
So we go on. Now this is the tail end of their tour. So, these guys are tired. The crew is tired. The gear is tired. And so we came out, again, this is back when you had platforms and satin pants and satin blazer, with, like kind of like Slade, back in, Bowie.
Yeah.
And you were like glammed out. And so we come out, and I had so much energy because I was so excited. I come running out, and my feet go up in the air, and I land on my back on the stage.
Oh, no.
And the band goes, "Oh, no." And the audience thinks it's part of the show. The whole place rises up to their feet and starts screaming. What? And I get back on my feet and keep rocking.
That's awesome.
And so they thought it was an entrance. I just fell flat on my ass.
Wow.
Do it again.
Right. Do it again. We should go see them tomorrow night.
After the show, they gave the bands pizza. And so here we are sitting there having pizza with Black Sabbath. And we each had a garbage can full of beer. And they gave Black Sabbath Budweiser, and they gave us Michelob. And so the guys in Sabbath are saying, "Hey, could we trade you some of your Michelob for our Budweiser? We really like some of your Michelob." "Yes, yeah. We're like, "Here, take the whole thing."
Right.
You're Black Sabbath.
Enjoy yourselves.
Aren't you the guy that fell down earlier?
They had, they were back there. They don't care.
Right.
No.
But it was their gear. I remember Geezer Butler's bass case was held together with duct tape.
Oh my God.
Even better.
The amps in back of their wall, they used Laney amps at the time.
Yes.
They were out of the boxes chassis, because these things were like running on fumes.
Right.
And this is Tony Iommi's rig.
Yeah.
Just the open chassis. They probably didn't have boxer fans in it. We had boxer fans in ours blowing air across the output tubes to keep them cool. But yeah, the gear was just literally duct tape and
that's amazing.
Wire
twine.
And they sounded just amazing.
Oh God,
yeah.
You want those two?
So that was
hot.
That was one. An embarrassing one was a different promoter in the Albany area, because we were very popular after that show. People came out and saw us.
Right.
They also introduced us from Hawaii, hot flyer. And we're like, looking at each other going,
"What the fuck is that?
Hawaii?" So maybe because I'm kind of like an odd looking guy, that they thought, "Oh, he's from Hawaii" or something.
Right.
So anyway, we had a good draw. And so Pat Benatar was just breaking with her first album. But this is with Neil, Myron Grumbacher, on drums.
Exactly.
The top band.
Right.
And David Werner was promoting his album with Mark Doyle on guitar.
Nice.
And this is, Bob Clearmountain working his magic. So the promoter says, "They're going to open for you. David Werner, Pat Benatar are in the New York Flyers." And we're like, no, that's a mistake. We should go on first.
Right.
These guys. And it was like, no, you're going to bring a crowd. We want them to stay to see you. We don't want, we're like, oh, they thought that people would come and then leave.
Right.
It's like,
right.
No. So that was just embarrassing.
But was it though?
Yeah,
little bit of
because,
you know.
well, I mean, but Benatar and David Werner, and they sounded amazing,
Right.
and we're
Yeah.
this kind of in your face,
Right.
rock band,
Mm-hmm.
and so we didn't have the the studio finesse and that these guys had.
Right.
Well, when we were playing with a lot of different bands that were coming through the area at the time. So Marshall Tucker, we played with twice at the State Fair and the War Memorial, I think. Loverboy,
Sweet.
Eddie Money, and Leslie West. And, Leslie was going through different incarnations. So he played the Fat Cat in Buffalo once. And so we opened for Leslie, but Leslie at the time, it was Dino Dinelli on drums from the Rascals, Busta Cherry Jones on bass, and Leslie. Wow. So it was a really good three-piece band.
Yeah.
And it was a pickup band. So
right.
Leslie has no guitars, there's no drums, there's no back line. We're supplying everything. So it's just a fly-in for those guys. Well, our crew forgot my guitars.
Oh no.
So
what the hell?
They're at the venue going, we don't have guitars, and Leslie needs a guitar, and Chris, you don't have any guitars. And so we borrowed one from a friend in Rochester. Never played it before, didn't know. Grabbed it. And, okay, get to the venue. Leslie wants to see the guitar he's playing. Oh,
no, he doesn't.
Let me look at this. So it was a Sunburst Les Paul, but it was okay. And I go in, and there's a long table, and Leslie is sitting there, and there are these styrofoam clamshell Howard Johnson fried chicken trays.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I don't know, a lot of them.
Okay.
Like, to me, it looked like 12, 20 of these things on this table. And Leslie, hey, kid, how you doing? And we're like, good, Leslie. Here's the guitar. So now he has just eaten all of this fried chicken. He does not wipe his hands. He grabs the guitar, starts playing the guitar. He goes, yeah, it's okay, kid. It's okay. And then he said, what are the amps? And I go, well, I have a Marshall. And this was Michael Coward's Marshall from Buddy Greeley.
Yeah.
And he had it worked on by a guy named Doc down in Ithaca. And Doc worked on Richie Blackmore's amps. So what Doc would do,
we know who he is.
he would crank the amps and the biases. So the amp was like on the brink of failure. It was just running so hot. Boxer fan on it. And it would blow fuses so frequently that there were actually lights that he put in the back. The light would go on when the fuse blew, so you knew which fuse it was that you needed to replace.
Right.
Oh.
And then I had 2 high watt hundreds, so that it was just ungodly loud. And Leslie comes out, he decks everything, maxes everything out. He turns to me, he looks at the high watt and goes, I'm a Marshall man.
Okay.
And I'm standing there, side stage, with fuses in my hand, watching the lights on the back of this Marshall Major for when he blows it up.
Yeah.
And just waiting to replace the fuse because he has it decked out and it's like thunder.
Right.
So good experience because I was a big Leslie West fan, seeing him in Mountain and just what he could do with those mitts and the harmonics he could pull out of guitars.
Yeah. Exactly.
How many fuses did he go through?
I think he only blew a couple, which was amazing.
Right. He's a Marshall man.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
he's a Marshall man.
That's what he would say. He had his voice. He'd be like, hey, kid.
Yep.
Almost like mumbles on Dick Tracy. Hey, how you doing, kid?
Right. So then he hands you back the chicken greased up guitar. You can give it back to your friend and say, hey,
by the way,
you know where that chicken grease came from?
Right.
It's Leslie West.
Oh, no, it probably said, it's fingeries. Sorry, we'll wipe it off.
Yes. It's fine.
Oh, God. And that was Buffalo, you say?
Yeah, that was in Buffalo.
Maybe he was eating chicken wings. because they're in Buffalo.
No, this was big fried. I don't know how this was when he was really kind of
big guy.
Yep.
And not really healthy, but he sounded great. And I remember Dino Danelli, he was riding the cowbell, and he hit the cowbell. And this is like a Latin percussion Black Beauty cowbell. He dented it.
Oh shit!
Oh wow!
So much that the cowbell was it was totally ruined. I've never seen anyone take the butt end of a stick and hit it so hard that he just, it was concave.
Wow, that's crazy.
Was that Earl's cowbell?
It was.
No.
Yes, it was.
Was it?
How did he do his solo?
I want to think. Yeah.
How did he go out in the crowd with a dented cowbell?
I don't know.
That's pretty cool. I would keep that forever.
I'm sure Earl has it somewhere.
I'm pretty sure. And I do want to mention Phil D'Alessandro, who was the backbone. Phil did an enormous amount of work for the Flyers. Logistics, road crew, finances, booking for quite a while, and just all the production is really, it's Phil's doing.
Right.
I was more the musical director.
Okay.
And we'd have a new member. I would be rehearsing with them, getting the new people up to speed.
Yeah.
But Phil handled the crew, rental trucks, all of the logistics, so we really made a good pair. We were like Felix and Oscar, as odd a couple as you could get. But, we still are great friends, as with Mike and Earl.
So is Phil
and I did want to mention, John Seeley was a Flyer for a while too.
Yes.
What is Phil taking care of the logistics on the August 17th gig, or did you?
He is, because his backline company, BAM Productions, he sold to Dan Shaw. Dan is running it, and so they're still friends, and we still work with Dan because we got to get that wall up.
Yeah, you do.
The wall hat.
Yeah, you do.
Cabinets. That's so
yes,
cool. Sir.
That's crazy. I think we've run that gamut, to be honest with you. I mean, you met Rob Halford.
Yeah.
Where
was your favorite place? Well, and I know CBGB's was like, that's that and Limelight, but up and down the East Coast, did you have a venue that just blew your mind away when you walked in?
Well, CB's was legendary. So just because it was kind of hollowed ground, I would go there and see the Ramones. And just, you'd have 2 hours and, I don't know, 62-minute songs just pummeling you, just beating you up.
Yeah, right.
You're exhausted. And they just, and then the Limelight, just because it was an old church, it was just so regal and majestic and just beautiful, and it sounded great in there too.
There's a place here. There's a place here in Homer. There's an old church they turned into a music venue.
Really?
Yes.
Nothing like the Limelight.
No, I understand that, but I'm just,
Limelight, that church could have gone two ways, because you look at that church, you don't think of a church. It's almost like it's dark, it's kind of eerie and ominous, and you're like, I can't imagine that at one point being anything but what it is, because I couldn't see like going into the Limelight and having it be a joyous church atmosphere. It was always this fucking music venue. That's all, but you drive by it and it's still just, it's right there. It still looks beautiful. I don't even know what it is now, but it's, God, miss those. Did you ever see the Dictators when you were down there? Even before the Ramones? No?
No.
You figure the Dictators, they were the ones that really they were like one of the first. The Ramones used to go hang out and watch those guys play. So, and the Dictators had Ross Friedman in it. I knew it. Ross Friedman. Ross the Boss Friedman.
There you go.
Was in the Dictators. So, but and he was on the show, so we have to say that.
No, we don't.
Yeah, no. We don't need to go to that.
No.
But yeah, I just think it's so cool. I mean, you've been at the, you've played at some of the greatest places. You've seen some great bands when people weren't, you've had it good. And look at you, and you're going to do a reunion in Syracuse. So
there's a humbling story. So one night at CB's, packed house, and I don't know if you are familiar with the bathroom situation at CBGB's at the time, but
no.
it was you go downstairs,
right,
and there was a ladies' room and a men's room next to each other. The men's room didn't have a door. So as you're going down the stairs, anybody could see completely straight into the men's room, and there was maybe 2 or 3 urinals and then a toilet, no stall. You were wide open to the stairs coming down, and it was packed. And I had to, go. And so I went to the door and said, "Hey, can I go out and find a bathroom and come back?" And said, "No, there's no re-entrance policy." I was like, ah. And then she had been talking to Debbie Harry.
Oh,
so Debbie Harry was
Blondie.
standing right there.
Yeah.
And so I'm like 3 feet away from Debbie, and Debbie turns to her and says, "Who's that?" And then the door person says, "Oh, nobody."
What the hell?
Oh, nobody.
So, and I was just a regular guy, still am. But, it was like, oh man, if he had said, "Oh, hey, Chris, come over here. I want to introduce you to Debbie."
Yeah.
I would have been like, wow. But I wasn't meant to meet her.
Were you single at that time?
I was in New York by myself, but my girlfriend was still in Syracuse because I was trying to kind of make my mark, and doing auditions. I mean, I auditioned for Billy Squire.
Nice.
And,
cool.
The drummer, Bobby.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. His foot was like a bottom foot.
Yep.
And so I'm like, okay, I learned the songs. I thought, okay, I got this. And so, we're at SIR, plug in, play, and we're doing like In the Dark or something.
Yeah.
And he goes 2, 3, 4, and the band is just like, ooh. It was like so loud, intense, and really good sounding. I was like, I didn't expect him to be so good.
Right.
I mean, it just sounded like, it was just like, wow. I quickly ran back and turned my amp up because I didn't realize how loud these guys were going to be.
Right.
And then I didn't get the gig. Jimmy Crespo, who filled in for Joe Perry at Aerosmith, got the gig.
Yep.
How dare he? Yeah, but
humbling again.
You were one introduction away to being Chris Harry. I mean, you could have been her boyfriend. I mean,
no, she had Chris Stein.
Right.
But she's just, she's an icon.
Right.
Chris, aside from Billy Squire, who else have you auditioned for?
There were a lot of bubbling projects, so bands that were on spec. So they had rehearsals, and it might be a band out of Philly but they were rehearsing in New York. And I remember once they wanted me to audition as a lead singer because they needed a lead singer. And I said,
wow.
I'm a guitar player. I sing, but I'm a guitar player.
Yeah.
I said, no, man, you going to be right up front. And I was like, oh, and you know what it's like. If you don't have your guitar on you, you feel like you have no pants on.
Correct.
So
Correct.
It was very uncomfortable. But auditioning, showcasing, a lot of bands were showcasing for labels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But humbling. Yeah. Because you did your best, and if it was your time, it was. If not, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Either A&R guy changes or whatever, has to do a favor for someone else, or someone in the band implodes, or
Yeah.
Right.
Or there's nothing worse than a band that gets together and then the label goes, yeah, we're signing you. Everything's great.
But get rid of
lose
that
the
guy.
bass player.
Yeah.
Or lose that guy. That guy over there, his hair's too short. Or
or whatever. Yeah.
And you're like, Well, geez, he started the band with us. Yeah,
he's the one that started the whole thing.
Well, he's gonna start getting you thrown out of here if you don't get rid of him. Yeah,
right.
So, yeah. So that's, I think, I've asked this before. Can you imagine what your career might have been, or could have gone, or even done even more, had we grown up with the information age that we have now, with the internet and with being able to run a studio out of your house, and putting Pro Tools on a laptop, and next thing you know, you're creating stuff just as good as a Warner Brothers studio or Capitol Records or any of them. Have you ever thought, wow, where could this have gone? Or did you ever think to remaster a bunch of stuff and put it back out there?
I think everyone has their own journey, and I think my journey was kind of one foot in front of the other, and it was purposeful. Sure. And everywhere I went, I learned something that helped me immeasurably on my next footprint as I kind of went forward. And if I hadn't been successful at Manny's, I wouldn't have gone to Sam Ash. If I hadn't been to Sam, one thing led to another.
Right.
And even my success in the music business helped me get in Amazon. Amazon has a very, very low acceptance rate. I want to say it's something like 2% or something. The people they interview get hired. They're very picky, and it's a very rigorous interview process. But good for them.
Yeah. Right.
And that smart, super smart people.
Where are you at now? You're retired from the corporate world completely, and now you're going back with the music stuff.
Yeah. My wife and I looked around, and we went to San Diego, up through Central Valley, and I'm in Paso Robles right now, which is right between San Francisco and Los Angeles and the Central Coast.
Nice.
So we're inland, so it's warm. A ton of wineries, and so those wineries have pickup parties for their members, and they have bands. There's a lot of music here, a lot of bands. Every weekend, there's a list of all the bands playing all over the places. So it's a good place, and the people are wonderful. 40 minutes from the beach, and our daughter is in Culver City, so we want to be closer to her.
Right.
Yeah.
Madison was just too far away, and it was cold.
You think? So are you doing a solo gig now, or are you putting a full band together?
Again, so I came here last June, and then in July, a band needed a guitar player, and I started playing with them like a month after I moved.
Okay.
And they're a cover band, female lead singer, 2 guitars, bass, drums, and we've been playing regularly up and down the coast. So that's a lot of fun, and it's humbling because here I am writing these songs, but now I have to learn 45 songs.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have to be pretty truthful to the parts.
Yeah.
Some of these songs are iconic songs, and you have to know the solos.
Yeah. What are they? What are you playing now as far as the band's concerned?
So like 2 Tickets to Paradise.
Sure. Okay.
That solo is iconic.
Yes.
You have to play that solo.
Yeah.
And we're playing 70s, 80s, 90s primarily. So we cover a pretty broad swath of people. So there's a lot of tourists, but there's a lot of locals.
Right.
So we try and cater to, again, we're customer centric, just like the Flyers were.
Yeah.
The customer comes first.
Yep. Doesn't matter how many times you've got to play that one song that everybody hates, or
because there's always that one guy that wants to hear it.
Except Freebird. No one wants to play Freebird.
I will. I mean,
yeah, for $100.
No, that was 1,000.
Yeah.
We used to play Freebird, and the Flyers. We thought, oh no, there's no, a cold day in hell before we play Freebird, and we played it, and then for me, to kind of make it more interesting, I'd use a Molson beer bottle upside down for the slide part at the end.
Yep.
And it was one of our most popular songs.
Mm-hmm. Because you
so
actually
we were
did
slave to it.
Yeah. I mean, what was our nemesis? Oh, Enter Sandman. You hated Enter Sandman. I didn't.
I could shoe kick that thing to the moon, and I wouldn't care if I ever heard it again. But that's just me.
Well, I got to tell you, what's the name of the band that you're in now?
Deja Vu.
I'm sorry, I seem to have heard that before. What's it called?
What? Huh?
So, Deja Vu. We got to.
Yep.
And you're bringing them to Syracuse with you, or gonna have them come out here and play at Sharky's?
No, it's not that kind. This is Deja Vu's a cover band, and we have really good harmonies. It's a good band, but the Flyers are more of a concert band.
Yeah.
Yes.
So where we kind of have the whole show, and we kind of flow through the whole show, and we try not to stop. We try to keep things interesting, and we're very, very grateful and fortunate that we can do at least half the night original, that people still want to hear those songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you? I'll ask this because I know that we're way over, but do you find that because there's so many venues in California now that you can play at, do you find it difficult to book, or do you still have someone that's just constantly working the phones and booking and
What's interesting is Central New York. There were booking agents.
Right.
There was DMR, Dave Brezik, Not Out Talent, Freddie Caserta in Buffalo, Tony C in Utica. And they had their territories. Like you'd be hard pressed to find a gig at a club if they had a lock on that club. In California and the Central Coast, there's no booking agents. So the bands go and get the book and book their own bands. So it's competitive that way.
Well, we just had someone on the show, and she's got 65 or 70.
Those are tribute bands.
Well, not all tribute bands. A good majority are tribute bands, but she's got like 70 bands in her stable, and she's booking all over California and all over the country. She's bringing shows to Buffalo from out there. And now she's doing, like, she's managing Marco Mendoza's band and stuff. So she's got 3 or 4 solo artists.
Yeah.
Guy from The Voice or something like that.
Somebody from The Voice. I can't remember the name of them. But
it's on the show. But I'm saying, how are people doing this? So apparently she's like a one of a kind, where to us we're like, well, of course you would have a booking agent, but I didn't realize there wasn't really booking agents out there. What you'd think that it was the land of bands. There'd be somebody trying to capitalize on it. So, interesting.
It's a void in the market, but if you have a tribute band, those tribute bands tend to do well, and they tend to make more. And also, they're very casino friendly. So the people that go to casinos like to go see a Fleetwood Mac Dreams band or an AC/DC or Van Halen tribute. And so, they can go and see that show, then go and hit the gaming tables.
Well, when she told us a Peter Frampton cover band, I was like, Peter Frampton cover band? Really? She said, oh, yeah, I've got that. I've got Rod Stewart. I've got Barbara Streisand. She's got everybody. Got Elvis. I was like, holy shit, no kidding. Good for you.
Yeah, she said that I remember her saying that the woman who does the Barbara Streisand looks almost identical and sounds even more like her.
Yeah, even the Linda Ronstadt.
Yeah.
Same thing. She's got a girl that does the Linda Ronstadt. So I was like, that's awesome. And to see the people that are still hungry to grab that little bit of their youth, the nostalgia, and they want to hear that. They want to see that. And I think that's why when you guys play here at Sharky's on August 17th, you're going to find that the same faces that you've been seeing years ago are going to be sitting right there, and they're waiting for you. They've been waiting, and it's that night out that they can't wait to party and listen to those same songs again. So
Mike and I are going to get there on the 16th and wait.
Just so we can be first in line.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we're going to stand on side stage, and we're going to come out and introduce you, and you won't even know.
Okay.
It. Yeah.
Now he knows.
That's right. That's what we did to Ben Morrow.
We did, too.
When Ben Morrow played here, we said, yeah, and Jeff and I are going to get up and we're going to play a song. I'm going to sing a song. He's going to play guitar, and Ben goes, come on up.
Come on up.
And there you go.
Yep.
So what we did is on the Flyers Facebook page, we reached out to the fans and said, "What do you want to hear?"
Yep.
That's
cool. And so we got a whole bunch, and out of that, we had a band meeting and kind of virtual meeting.
Yep.
And we picked out, and we have some surprises, some songs we haven't played in decades.
Awesome.
That we think will be really good. So we hear you, and again, customer centric. And we want to be fan-centric.
That's awesome. Chris, we thank you so much for being on the show today. I know it's taking time out of your day and everything, but I think this is one of those interviews that our local fans of yourself and the band, they're just going to love it. So anytime you have anything coming out, I don't know if you have any solo projects coming out that you've been noodling with or anything like that, please
let us know, and we'll get it out. We'll get the word out.
Yeah. We would love to have you back on the show and tell us what's been going on.
However, everybody, don't forget August 17th.
Yes,
Syracuse Event Center.
Who is our sponsor?
The New York Flyers.
Yes. Never thought we could say that, huh?
I know it.
That's awesome. Can't wait.
And that's a great venue. I mean, they just upgraded their PA system.
Yes.
So, I mean, with a new line array. So it sounds amazing. Wonderful place.
Yeah.
And I'm just so thankful that the band, Earl, Mike, and Phil, we're all able to play together.
Yep.
And that the fans are the reason why we can do these shows.
Yes.
Without them, we wouldn't be around.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we can't thank you enough for doing everything you've done in the past for this area and being on the show with us.
Truly appreciate you, brother.
And anything we can do to help. We up until the 17th, we will mention this on the show. We'll put it on the Facebook.
As many times as we say Ultimate Ears.
Ultimate Ears. We have to say Ultimate Ears 3,000 times.
Well, we're short by about 2,900.
Well, that's all right, because you can hear your own ears.
With Ultimate Ears.
Ultimate Ears. That's right there. Ultimate Ears, and the logo is going to be right about here.
Somewhere.
Yeah, during editing. Yeah. So.
Well, you guys rock, and Central New York rocks.
That's right.
Thanks,
you,
Chris.
Stick around. We're gonna roll out here, but you stay right there while we do our credits, and there you go. Ready?
Thanks, guys.
I am ready.
Thank you.
There it is.
You've been listening to The Good,
The Band,
The Ugly. I'm Big Papa.
And I'm Jeff, and
that
is
Chris O from the New York Flyers.
Yes.
We want to thank Auk Medical Supply, Sharky's Event Center,
DJ Life's the Beach, Good Nature Brewery,
Uncle Jimmy's Local Live Music, The Print Shop Underground,
Snarky Productions, and
Toffee Break Toffee, and let's not forget Ultimate Ears. Remember what we say to everybody.
Be good to each other.
Don't be a dick. Peace, everybody.
Recording stopped.
Shut up.
Plug your laptop in.
Recording stopped.